Winning Blueprint presents.
5 minutes or less.
Had so much success with it in the past, I'm back with it again, 5 minute or less series. This time it's the scheduled release 5 minute or less series. Welcome, I'm your host Lou. Thank you for joining me here with the Green Bay Packers in 5 minute or less. Got 5 minutes on the clock. Let's get started. So anytime I look at a schedule, the first thing I like to look at is prime time appearances. And we're talking Green Bay Packers, one of the most prestigious franchises in all of the National Football League. They've got one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the game. You know they're going to be front and center when we're talking primetime games. You look at the list, they've got 5 of them. And so we start with Thursday Night Football, Week 13 at Detroit. It's Thanksgiving. It's in the division. It's Turkey. It's the Lions. It's the Packers. It's going to be a lot of fun. You look at Sunday Night Football. They've got 3 of them. That's big boy football. Primetime, Sunday Night Football, Collinsworth, Michaels. It doesn't get any better than that. They got 3. You look at Week 8 at Minnesota, divisional game again. So you look at the first primetime game on Thursday, it's in the division. You look at the first Sunday night game in the division at Minnesota in Week 8. Huge game. Greg Jennings playing against his old chums. We'll see how that one goes. You look at Week 11 at the Giants. So 2 Sunday night games thus far, both on the road against tough opponents. You look at Week 14, finally home for one of these Sunday night tilts. They got the Atlanta Falcons coming to town. That's a huge game. Statement game for the Packers. If they want to control the NFC, they got to go through a team like the Atlanta Falcons. You also look at Monday Night Football, of course. You think Green Bay, you got to think Chicago Bears. You knew one of these primetime games was going to have to include the Chicago Bears. This is it. Monday Night Football, Week 9 at home versus the Chicago Bears. So a lot of intrigue there with the Packers on primetime football. You look in the division. You got Minnesota, Week 12 at home. And that'll be Greg Jennings coming back to Green Bay. We'll see how he's received. Probably not going to be very well. It's going to be fun. That should be a blast. You look at Week 8. You have to go to Minnesota. We just talked about that. That's a Sunday night matchup. So you look at Chicago, Week 9. We just talked about that. That's a Monday night tilt. You're at home. You have the Bears coming to your house. Got to take care of business. You look at Week 17. You got to go to Chicago to wrap the season up. That game could have huge playoff implications when it occurs. You look at Detroit, Week 5. You got them at home. Got to take care of business. If you want to win a division, you got to clean up on the Detroit Lions like you did last season. Got to have those if you are the Packers. Week 13, you got to go to Detroit. We just talked about that. That's the Thanksgiving game. Got to take care of business once again playing the Detroit Lions. You look at anomalies, and the Packers don't have any. You can add them to the short list of teams thus far that we've done that don't have some sort of anomaly on their schedule. What I mean by anomalies, any stretch of games where you have 3 consecutive or more games on the road or at home. You have 3 out of 4 at home or on the road, or you have 4 out of 5. And that's a rare scenario where you have 4 out of 5 on the road or at home. The Packers don't have to worry about any of that. They don't have any anomalies on their schedule. That's rare. Only the Cowboys and the Packers thus far can lay claim to that statement. You look at their bye week, Week 4. That's way too early. We'll talk about that in a second. You look at the COTC for me, and the COTC stands for Circle on the Calendar Games. And for me, with the Green Bay Packers, it starts with Week 1, San Francisco. You got to go to San Francisco. Last year, San Francisco came to you. And I thought that was a tempo setter for the beginning of the season for the Packers and some of their struggles. You allowed San Francisco to come into Lambeau and punch you in the mouth and physically beat you up. They beat you, and I thought that was the changing of the guards between the two teams. They came into your house, smacked you around, and really set the tone for the season. This is your opportunity to return the favor. Go to San Francisco, beginning of the year, and let them know this is not your conference. We're still here. We're the Green Bay Packers, and we're not going anywhere. You also look at Week 14 versus the Atlanta Falcons. That's a primetime game. We talked about that. Sunday Night Football. Packers, again, Another team played in the NFC Championship game, did the Atlanta Falcons. You need to exert your dominance over them. Show them that you are the alpha male in the NFC. I think those are two huge games for the Green Bay Packers. You look at the timeout, and I think every team in the National Football League has a timeout on their schedule. And for me, the timeout here is that the Packers are a five-star team. We already knew that. And what I mean by a five-star team, you have 5 games on primetime. You're only allowed a maximum of 5 primetime games, and you have 5 primetime games. And so there's 9 5-star teams in the league. The Packers are one of them. And the other one for me is the early bye week. Week 4. Who wants a bye week at week 4? Normally that doesn't do you some good. If you start off slow, say you start off the season 0-3, or you start off the season 1-2, maybe that bye week is just what the doctor ordered. But normally no one wants a bye that early. The Packers have it. It is what it is. You just keep on moving. You hear that sound in the background. That means that's been the Green Bay Packers. Schedule release in 5 minutes or less.
5 minutes or less.